to the organizer for calling me for delivering this special address before you August gathering. Respected all chairpersons, all the available delegates, and all the top officers of IA also I would like to recall. My topic is corruption, good governance and system change. This presentation is just based on my two books which I have authored, namely A Crusade Against Corruption on the Neutral Path, and second, A Dialogue on System Change and an Initiative to Make a New India. Friends, this topic, corruption, good governance and system change, as this composition of all these three words, corruption, good governance and system change, we have a prevalence of corruption because we do not have good governance. And since good governance is not available because there is no system change. I am not saying that all these three things is totally available or is totally lacking. We have some anti-corruption drive also. We have some measures for the good governance also. And for the last 70 years, we have taken some initiative in terms of system change also. I would like to say we all want to bring an anti-corruption environment in the country. And since there is a paucity of time, I have been asked by the chair to just take 15 to 20 minutes time. And I have a long presentation which can at least take 1 hour. But I just converting my presentation into a fast food and try to present it in 15 to 20 minutes time. So I will go through all my slides. As it is mentioned, the corruption, good governance and system change having a supplementary effects over them. And as I told you, without checking corruption, we cannot bring good governance and vice versa. And without bringing changes in our system, we cannot check corruption and bring good governance regime. So I have just distributed my all presentation paper into three categories, and I am morely talking about how to eradicate corruption, how to cleanse the system, and how to bring the good governance. And for that, I have taken some interdisciplinary approach. Because if you talk about only economics, because you all are economists here, the matter will not be fulfilled unless you take the political initiative also. So without taking the political motive, you cannot achieve the economic goal, and without considering the economic objective, you cannot achieve your political goal also. The same way, I have distributed into three categories. What are the measures of anti-corruption reform under the political category? What are the political vision and reform plans? And second, what is the economic visions and reform plan? And third, which is a very crucial, that is the administrative vision and reform plan. First, I would like to say, which is a very psychological aspect of my study and my book, that this corruption has a very much psychological dimension. When corruption starts, we have to just check out our family, our upbringing, our all sanskaras, and all the habits of ethics we learn from our schools, from our teacher, from our parents. So it is very necessary to keep ourselves from the all kind of hypocrisy which is related to corruption. When we sit in our family, we talk about family status, and we talk to other people that I have such amount of salary and I have such amount of power, and just I using and misusing it, and just I earn a fabulous amount of wealth. And when we come on the public forum, we always talk about the ethics and all propriety. But there should be reconciliation between the both life. Our public life and our family life must have a coordination. Otherwise, the hypocritic society cannot erase corruption. How many numbers you frame your policy and establish your institution, it will not help until unless we have a better society and a robust kind of institution making. As I have mentioned in this my slide, 7 points formula which I generally put up before the audience, that we first of all we need a very clear-cut anti-corruption laws, because any governance, because we all know the democracy is a rule of law. It is governed by rule of law. It is governed by the check and balance system, and the all separation of power principle, under which we just take the name of legislature, executive, judiciary, and mass media. So this 7-point formula is first. We must have a simple and pinpointed anti-corruption laws. Then we should have a complete policy-driven system. We generally talk about the policy paralysis in our system, but we find there are many areas which have a policy lacuna. There is no clear-cut policy, and then we have to face various kind of hindrances and obstructions while dealing with the system. So we need a clear-cut anti-corruption law. Then we have a policy-driven system. Then third, we must have a robust kind of institution building. Fourth, we need a massive induction of required technology. What I have seen in the area of anti-corruption measures, the technology has been the single most effective measure in eradicating corruption, and there is no need of making speeches of ethics and all kinds of morality. If you employ technology, it has a cascading effect over the deliverance of the public governance. The next is we need a fantastic work environment and a total quality management in all our public offices. We have around 25 lakh office establishments all over the country, which are spreading in several departments, ministries, and institutions. If we institute a very good environment there, we establish a very good environment there should be a thorough complaint redressal mechanism there. We should have a regular Janta Darbar kind of thing in every office. For just the political, in a political fashion, some big politicians, some top politicians start their Janata Darbar just for taking political mileage. Otherwise, I suggest there should be a Janata Darbar kind of thing, there should be a complaint redressal mechanism kind of thing in all 25 lakhs office establishment, which is lacking. And the next is the profound public awareness. Without public awareness, you can't achieve everything, because there is a grey area everywhere. And if public is just aware, it's just conscious, it will have a definite effect over the slippery nature of the bureaucrats. If public get aware in the democracy, they have some hope they can gain and they can achieve what they desire through the governance from the government. And the next is the hard punishment for all enforcement agencies if they found indulged in blackmailing. We talk about the CBI, CBC, police, and so many vigilance officers, but they they keep themselves indulged in any kind of corruption activity or any blackmailing kind of activity. We never say anything, because there is no harsher punishment for them. If we make provision for a harsher punishment for all the enforcement officials, they will be more afraid in doing any kind of corrupt activity or any kind of irregular activity, and then that will have a more effect over the common public. And last, the 7-point agenda is the spirit of an ethical revolution in the country, because that is the DNA, that is the protoplasm of our whole system. If we do not have an ethical revolution, then public will definitely find some lacuna and some outlet, because public have a two-edged sharp weapon mind. One way it think about the reformulation, but the another way it also think about the annihilation. So if we have an ethical revolution in our society, then we will have a more effect on our public deliverance and anti-corruption environment in the country. And now I am coming on just my structural reform agenda, which starts from the political reform plan. And the first agenda is the agenda of reform for the political party to stop selling of tickets and granting it on the basis of nepotism and flattering, which is very prevalent, you all knowing about it. And the promoting quality leadership. We never talk about the promoting quality leadership. We never talk about creating and establishing Pathshala for all public leadership. We only talk about training to the imparting training to the IAS, to the through Skill India and all. But we should have a academic institutions for nurturing a quality leadership. Otherwise, people have to go for making dharana and agitation, and just then we create and nurture a public leadership. We should have a institutions which can create a new bunch of quality public leadership. Public leadership is not like getting a degree from the Oxford and Cambridge. It must have a bunch of so many qualities where the public has to think more about the public problem, not about the individual problem. The honesty, the integrity, his knowledge about all the system, his knowledge about the law, institution, and all the practicality of the system. And to start a good governance sale by all political parties, which is totally lacking. All political parties have only a voter list which is based on the caste, on the creed. And how can you garner more and more caste-based vote? That is their main objective. They never talk about how to promote good governance when they will come in the power. What will be their own agenda, their unique agenda? Otherwise, they have to be bank upon all the bureaucrats who are the permanent ones. And the system remains the same. Political party changes, the new regime of power comes, but the system remains the same, and that is the main problem. And there should be provision for the punishment of corrupt voters too. I am talking about punishing corrupt voters also. We talk about some greed are being fed by the election contestant, but we never talk about the punishing the corrupt voters who take and who blackmail their election candidate while casting his votes in a group or in an in-block manner. And the next slide is there should be provision for the proper salary and other facility for a third-tier representative. We generally talk about the decentralization of democracy, and we have a very high opinion about the Panchayati Raj, the three-layer Panchayati Raj, the district Panchayat, block Panchayat, and Gram Panchayat. But have you ever think about what the salary they are getting? Unless and until you provide him a salary on the line of the first tier and second tier public representative, how can you expect they will become a very honest kind of person, an honest kind of public representative? Because they also spend money in their election, even up to crores. Even a Gram Panchayat Mukhiya or the Sarpanch, he just spent rupees up to 1 crore, but what he gets salary? Highest 5,000. You go through all the studies of the state government, you will find there is not.
Can I have queries?
Yes. After I complete it.
Otherwise, my point was,
Yes.
do you think that higher salary of one figure?
I will take your question, sir. I will take your question. And we all must go through following reform agenda, a complete new blueprint needed for all political parties in regards to their organization, functioning, funding, electioneering, screening of candidates, activism and drafting of their election manifesto, ensuring proper livelihood for all political workers. That is a very key area. We never talk about the livelihood of the political workers. They always depend, whenever their party came in the power, they take the recommendation for the admission, for the contract, for the transfer, and they go to the minister and they meet them and they just take their bribe money. They are the middleman money. And most of the political workers depend on these kind of things. And that is why the huge rivalry takes place between the two political party and the two political party workers. So we all political party, I just advocating to bring a reform within the political party. We always talk about the Congress party and BJP party, but we never talk about what is happening within BJP and within Congress party. Are they following the nepotism and all kind of high bhatija war, or they have a proper and clear-cut policy for the screening of candidates or providing livelihood to their workers? And the screening of candidates in proper manner, guidelines regarding raising and solving of public problems and complaints, which I earlier mentioned, transparent funding pattern for the political party. And if we provide training and orientation courses for administrative and police people, then why should we not have a pathshala for political people? We need a complete elimination of all sorts of identity politics. It's also a kind of corruption, because it makes the political party very easier to galvanize the voters. If you appeal on an emotive line, on an identity line, on a caste line, or community line, or a language line, or a region line, it is very easy to attract the voters, and then good governance has to suffer. Because our multi-party competitive politics has to based on only good governance. There should be no kind of identity politics, populist politics, and emotive politics.
So, Professor Knowledge, please finish within 5 minutes.
5 minutes. Okay. And the next slide, we need to establish a new micromanagement culture in all government offices. We generally see in government offices, we generally they say that we have to take permission from the upper officials, and it takes very much time. So if we have a micromanagement culture prevailing in all government offices, very immediate decision can be taken, and you can repel the corruption. When file takes no time, then they will have no corruption. If file takes time, if the approval takes time, then corruption has a possibility. We need a new personal policy for the whole country, which must have a uniform pattern for all three tiers of democracy: democratic government, central, state and local body, private and voluntary sector also. We need a personal policy because some are organized one and some are unorganized one. Some have a trade union linked all kind of personal policy, and some have a just work on a dihadi kind of wages. So it just make a imbalance between all kind of working class. So if you employ a policy of contract, that must be universal and that must be for all. Otherwise, it will create a several kind of several island and all kind of unequal environment in the country, and that is also not good for the good governance regime. If we have a new government in the option, also necessary all government expenditure must have a, now this is the economic point. All government expenditure must have an outcome audit. If the organization is committed one and it works for the profitability, then there should be its economic audit. And if expenditure goes to the social area, then that must have a social audit also. Because we generally see many expenditure which goes on account of human development, education and health, that is not being properly audited. When you go to for the calamity relief operation, that amount is also not being audited. So we must have an audit for all the commercial venture as well as for all the social venture which government generally do for the welfare of the public. Public servant must be, and this is related with administrative reform and vision plan. A public servant must be characterized by its literal meaning, that is to serve people. But in fact, it is not. They are the owner of the public, they are the master of the public, they are not the servant of the public. So this nuisance has to be eliminated. Nothing wrong in adopting corporate culture in public offices, under which relationship between bureaucrat and public can be framed on the basis of manager and client. Indian Administrative Service (IAS) must be converted or redesigned into Indian Administrative Management Service (IAMS). I am advocating for making IAS to IAMS, and then it will bring more accountability. It's a more their responsibility towards the common public. Right to public service must have a more public orientation, and all grey area of governance must be looked into that context. All implied must have an orientation course for the being subservient, honest and good intentional approach for the public, applying target-oriented tracking of corrupt element. All department must have a white paper which can tell about on which count they have a inbuilt corruption in your organization and how they will check it. All anti-corruption agency must have a performance audit regarding how far they recover the bribery assets and what is the cost of the recovery operation. CAG, which is the most important, and I regard it the most viable and most authenticating and most impactful anti-corruption constitutional body, which have its result also. It not only track the corrupt things, corrupt happening, but it also suggests several kind of policy measures which have been path-breaking ones. If government just follow in the upcoming years all the past CAG reports, I think it can check a lot all kind of corruption mishappenings going on around all the three tiers of government.
So please say your final words.
nutrition.
The last point
Yes.
the chair is asking about.
1 minute.
Our systems would have orientation of neither communism nor capitalism. It must have only reformism, and there should be no hypocrisy, rather transparency in our public discourse. There should not be a set of cliches or rhetoric, rather we must have a real life issues in our public discourses. We should not have the atmosphere of mere sloganeering, rather there should be ideology based change in every sphere of our public life. We should not be misleading anyone, rather it should be showing the right path to the people. There should be no status cohesion, rather we must always for the good governance, good politics, good economics, and imbibing good culture. We must have no place for identity politics, rather it should be oriented with good governance only. There is no need of agitation to make your career in politics, rather we need to nurture the school of public leadership. There should be no allegation and counter allegation on issue of corruption. There must be no appeasement, rather it should be true and principled secularism. There should be no populism, rather it must be net gain to the public. We do not need to provide subsidy, rather we need to provide support. We must have no place, we should not allow tax evasion, we should rather go for tax reform. We do not need to provide subsidy.